questions about whether he violated the gag order in his hush money case. He's quoting Fox host Jesse Waters saying this: "They are catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury," unquote. Now, that's a completely unsubstantiated charge, you do realize. But does it also violate the gag order? I want to bring in former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti. Renato, so glad you're here. I mean, frankly, this question has been looming for some time. Will he violate the gag order? Has what he's done so far violated the gag order? Now this is opposed to Truth Social. There's absolutely no evidence of the fact that there are somehow these sleeper jurors, although that's been a question people have had. But the gag order prohibits Trump from doing this. Let's read it for everyone to see what is actually on the table here. It prohibits him from making or directing others to make public statements about any prospective juror or any juror in this criminal proceeding. So my question to you, does this post violate that gag order?
On its face, I think it obviously does. And the question is going to be, will his lawyers be able to convince the judge that there's some question about it because he's technically quoting someone else?
Mm-hmm. Unpack that for me, because that phrasing of it has to or cause somebody else to do it, I think he'll make the argument, will he not, that he's just reposting something. He didn't make the statement. He didn't direct others to make the statement about a prospective juror or any juror in the criminal proceeding. What do you think will be the barometer to determine whether or not the reposting or the quoting somebody else is him actually making the statement?
That's right. So I think this would be a much closer call, Laura, if he actually was reposting or retruthing, retweeting someone else's comment. In other words, let's say Laura Coates put something out there on Twitter and then I just pressed the retweet button. Is it my statement or am I just amplifying in some way your statement? That would be a closer call. That's not what happened here. If you look at the post from Truth Social, he actually typed that out himself, or someone else using his social media account typed that out word for word. And so putting quotes around it, I don't think is realistically going to say that that's not your own statement. In other words, you are endorsing or approving the statement, adopting the statement of Jesse Waters. I think that's how the DA is going to argue it tomorrow, the DA's team. And I think the judge is likely to agree.
You know, by the way, it almost has that air of people say, they say, and then you can fill in the next sentence on these notions. But this judge has already reprimanded Trump for even muttering toward a juror in the court. Remember, there was the moment when a juror was brought before them to be questioned about a social media post. After that juror left the courtroom, the judge said, basically, tell your client to stop it. I won't have any juror intimidated in this courtroom. So he's already expanded the gag order even before jury selection. So what is the judge going to do now? Is this a slap on the wrist? Is it a more calcified warning? What?
Great question. Under New York law, the statutory maximum fine is $1,000.
Okay.
And you know, and I know, Laura, that's not a lot of money to Donald Trump. I suspect some of his lawyers cost more than that an hour. So realistically, I think Trump has no problem violating the gag order because he likes telling people he's gagged. He likes trying to attack the integrity of the proceedings. That's part of a strategy that he has, a PR or press or political strategy. And the question here really is, and I suspect prosecutors are going to try to suggest some form of contempt. I think that's going to be difficult. That's usually something that occurs in the judge's presence. Don't think the judge is going to go there, but I suspect the judge is going to try to suggest that stiffer penalties could come in the future.
Yeah, that graduated scale of punishment. And remember, I mean, we're talking, there's only 7 jurors that have presently been seated. You got to have a total of 18. That's the 12 plus the 6. There are people who are going to be questioned tomorrow about their beliefs, that jury questionnaire possibly, and then going beyond that. So those prospective jurors undoubtedly are hearing about this as well. Renato Mariotti, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, this trial, Donald Trump says that he wants to testify in his hush money trial. Now, that is his absolute right as a criminal defendant to do that or choose not to do that. But he might want to think twice about what that will actually mean for him if he takes the stand. In the filing today, prosecutors said if he does take that stand, they want to bring up his past legal run-ins to try to discredit him before the jury, including a list of, quote, all misconduct and criminal acts of the defendant, which the people intend to use at trial to impeach the credibility of the defendant. Now, I know when you hear the word impeachment, when it comes to Trump, you're thinking about the political thing in the Senate and the House. We've heard it at least twice, right? This is not that kind of impeachment. Impeaching a witness in a criminal trial means you're trying to present evidence that shows that they are not telling the truth. And you do it when they actually take the stand. So imagine this scene playing out in the courtroom, right? You got the former president on the stand. He's questioned about everything from the